video is brought to you by Skillshare.
Hi, I'm Shoestring Jane. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things thrifty, frugal and money saving. And in the spirit of New Year, I thought I would talk about extreme frugality. I know that a lot of you, that's probably why you're watching this channel, are aiming for a much more frugal 2023. Times are tough as it is, so anything you can do can help, but you may have specific goals. And I thought I was inspired by Frugal Joe really to make this video, just to talk about how extreme frugality can help you to achieve your goals. So that's what I'm going to do. So it's not, when people think about frugality, sometimes some people think being frugal is being poor, or being frugal is being extremely mean and you have money but you choose not to spend it. It's being Scrooge-like. And in actual fact, I think for most of the frugal folk that I come across, they embrace this lifestyle because they want to achieve something. So they have a goal. So, and it may be that they're working towards that goal. And sometimes it's definitely necessity, but it's a choice, I mean, for myself, I've always been fairly frugal anyway, and I spent the last 10 years or so writing a blog about frugality at shoestringcottage.com, but I chose to be frugal. I've chosen this lifestyle because it means that I don't have to go looking for a job and work full-time for somebody else. I took redundancy in 2019 in May. I'd already kind of set myself on track to be able to make that choice. So although I didn't plan that, what I was thinking was, yes, at some point I would really like to give up this job and focus on doing some other things. And I'd kind of built up a series of side hustles. So when the redundancy came along, it was a gift to me really, because I was really ready to go. And I knew that because I kept my costs really low, I could afford to do it. And because I'd already built up some income from these side hustles, which I think tends to be part of a frugal lifestyle, I could afford to do that. So it gave me a choice. And I'd got to the stage where I'd worked a long time for other people. How old was I? 57 when I took redundancy, 56 maybe. And, you get to a point where you work for other people and you have a series of managers above you. Now, this isn't typical of every company. I know this. My daughter works for a really fantastic company, seemed to be very well managed, but this was the local council. And it seemed like you were forever at the mercy of whatever cost-cutting exercise was going on, or a manager above you's whims. We've got to do things this way. And you think, well, why? I mean, sometimes it was just no common sense. It was almost like a bit of a power trip. People like to have even a tiny bit of power and exert it. And, I was very low management and fairly low to the bottom of the pile. And it really felt like I was kind of always being pushed around over a number of years. So it gave me, being extremely frugal, gave me the option to walk away from that. And that's really, it was a lifesaver for me. It really enabled me to get a better work-life balance. And while I'm on the subject, I will mention my sponsor, Skillshare. So if you want to work in a different way, maybe you want to get a different job for 2023, a different career path, or maybe you want to turn your side hustle into a business, then Skillshare might have a class that's just for you. Let's take a look. So if, like me, you're thinking of a new career, joining Skillshare could help you learn new skills to help you work the way that suits you. For example, you can take classes on various aspects of freelancing, particularly if you're a creative person. So if you have a creative side hustle and you want to make it more effective, or you want to publicise it, there are all kinds of courses on Skillshare that could help you. So let's have a look at these ones. I've just typed in build a creative career and you can see the kind of courses that we've got here. Social media for creatives, 5 exercises to power your freelance career by Andy Pizza. We've got one by Emma Gannon there as well, unlocking your potential, 5 exercises to build creative confidence. If we go to the top, you can see there's a lot of artists type courses. So build a creative career for artists and designers, building a career in illustration. And then once you've got your career going, you can look at Building a Sharp, Smart Online Presence with this course by Sonia Rasula. There are so many different courses here if you're a creative person and you want to turn your side hustle into your career, or you just want to get it going a bit better. It's really worthwhile. For me, I want to continue to be my own boss, but I never have enough time. So I want to have a little look at the time management courses that they do. I think I could improve my time management. Let's have a look and see what they do. Okay, so we've got Make Your Art Time Management for Creatives. This one here, so this one looks like the course that I need, Time Management and Productivity for the Self-Employed Procrastinator by Jacob Lamb. That is what I am. I'm a massive procrastinator, and I'll find lots of other things to do rather than just get on with what I need to be doing. So this one, I'll be working through this course, and particularly for this number 7, the procrastination killer. So you can see there's so many courses. This is the one that I'm going to be doing, but you can do all sorts on Skillshare. If you want to see how Skillshare can help you achieve a new goal this year, you can try it for free for 7 days with my link in the description box below. And then you can also get 20% off for your first year. So check that out in the description box. So if you're new to this and you're not sure where to start with a frugal lifestyle, first of all, just think about what it actually is and what it isn't. So as I said before, it's not being mean. It's being conscious with your money. It's about having a plan for it. It could be about, finding ways to increase your income as well. I feel like frugality is a series of attitudes and actions. Can be quite small actions, but they build up over time. So you get into, perhaps you think, well, actually, I don't want to waste food. So you start doing things like meal planning and writing a shopping list and making sure that when you go to the supermarket, you're not hungry, so that you don't impulse buy other things, and really sticking to your list and not taking the children with you if you possibly can leave them at home. I know that's not always possible, but they always make you spend more money, don't they? And just kind of being very conscious of what you're doing. So you might start with that, and that's your goal, is to waste less food, because obviously you waste less food, then you have to buy less food, so your grocery bill will go down. And then you might move on to not wasting anything at all in your house. So you might think, well, actually, I've got this jumper, it's got a hole in it, I'm going to chuck it in the charity bag. Oh, I've got this jumper, it's got a hole in it, I'm going to try out that mending technique where you can kind of embroider little flowers and things on it and then make it into something that's still worth wearing. You might think, well, okay, well, what else am I not wasting? So I'm not wasting clothing, I'm not wasting fuel, I'm going to try and walk a bit more. So I'll get my bike out. I'm going to do that rather than always just jumping in the car to go down to the local shop or wherever you're going to go. Short journeys, you can start to save a bit of fuel. So it's becoming more mindful, as I say. And then once you do become more mindful, then you perhaps can start to curb those impulsive spending urges that many of us get. So just by becoming aware of them and by thinking, this is not part of the lifestyle that I want at the moment, just buying stuff, becoming aware of them can really help you to curb those impulse spends. And we all still get those. I tend to walk away from newsletters. I try to walk away from advertising. It's not always possible, and just not put myself in the way of spending really is the thing, and just always have a plan. So I think, well, plan ahead. I think, well, something's going to break down. My washing machine's probably only going to last another year, so I need to start putting some money away from that. So you start planning and being organised. Also, it becomes about living more simply and enjoying the simple things in life. And it sounds like a cliche, but it really is true. When you get to the point where you think, I'm not just going to automatically just do everything that I want to do. So I'm not going to just buy tickets for the expensive concert or constantly go to the theatre or the cinema. I'm going to find different ways of entertaining myself and doing fun things. And you find that you start to really enjoy those simple pleasures. And that's something else that Jo said in her video, was they stopped going out and doing the stuff they might have done that cost lots of money, and just enjoyed taking a really nice walk around the local area and taking a flask with them and sitting down on a bench and having a chat. And those kind of things you think, well, that's a bit dull. But actually, how many of us just don't ever get the time to do those things or don't make the time to do those things? And we're so busy, and then our downtime might just be going out to the restaurant or something. But if that's really expensive, and if you embrace a frugal lifestyle, perhaps your downtime could be getting together with friends at one of your houses and each taking just a dish and just doing things a little bit differently. So living more simply may be something that just happens, and it certainly is the case for me. It just happens and you find you enjoy it. So rather than being swept along on a Kardashian type consumer treadmill, you think, actually, no, I'm going to do things differently. And so think about your goals. I think having a goal, Joe had a goal, I had a goal. If you think about your goals and why you're doing it, it becomes a lot more easy. I mean, if you've got masses of money, I'm assuming you wouldn't be watching this video. So this is usually for the average person who's got an average amount of money, and it's easy to overspend and it's easy enough to get into debt. So perhaps your goal would be to get out of debt. So if you've got debt, your goal might be to just clear all those debts. And what a relief it is when you are debt free. I've never had masses of debt, but I've mentioned in previous videos that I did have kind of low-level consumer debt for quite a number of years. So I would very regularly buy things on the Never Never, or I would very regularly have things on my credit card that I didn't pay back. I might pay the minimum payments, and I would regularly go into my overdraft and those kind of things. And so I didn't have massive amounts of debt. But even if you do, by being extremely frugal, you could start to really chip away at that debt. And if you look at Dave Ramsey and some of the inspiring stories of some of the people that he helps, you'll see that people have had just thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds worth of debt, and they have come out of the other side. And can you just imagine the relief that creates, and just how much that improves the quality of your life when you're not worrying about debt and you haven't got a lot of your income going out to pay debts as soon as it comes in. Or extreme frugal living might enable you to pay for other things like a wedding. Perhaps you're getting married, or perhaps you know that you're going to need a newer car at some point, and they're an expensive thing, aren't they? You're not going to just buy a car for £100 that's going to be reliable. You're going to have to save quite a few thousand. So it might help you save for that. As I mentioned, debt already. You might have a trip of a lifetime that you want to do. Maybe you want to travel, and the only way you can do that is by being extremely frugal day to day. The other thing it can provide, and this is something that I found a great relief as well when I did it, was a cushion. So I built an emergency fund, and I've actually had to dip into my emergency fund recently because when we got here, we knew the oven wasn't working very well. But once I really started doing cooking over Christmas, I realised just how useless it was. And so we decided we were going to dip into the emergency fund and use some of those savings to get a new oven in the sales. So we did that. So, but you could also just build savings. Perhaps you want to retire early, just a little bit earlier or a lot early. Some people retire in their 30s and early 40s because they live extremely frugally and have decent money coming in. And then it means it gives them lots of choices. So it might not mean that they never work again, but it means they can retire from the day job and do things that they want to do. And that might mean also that you give up a well-paid job that you don't particularly enjoy for a much less well-paid job that you really love doing, that's more of a calling. You might really want to be a painter or craftsperson or work with disabled people, be a carer, something like that. Those jobs that can be really rewarding but don't pay you very much money. So you might actually work very hard in a job you don't like but pays well for a number of years in order to have more choices. And I think that that's really a good goal. It might mean that you can work fewer hours. So perhaps you could go part-time to spend more time with your family, with your children. I mean, there's a lot of parents who both have to go out to work, and wouldn't it be great if they could both knock a day off a week to spend more time with the kids? Save them on childcare, but also just some things you can't put a price on, can you? And spending time with your children, watching them grow up is one of those things. And I've found that embracing a frugal lifestyle tends to make you cook more. So I think you tend to then eat more healthily. So I think that's another bonus of extreme frugality. And it also tends to make you live more sustainably. And I think that's really, really relevant right now. I think we could all do with that. A lot of us are aiming for a more sustainable lifestyle, because we know deep in our hearts that we just cannot carry on the way that we are. So by jumping off that consumer treadmill, not buying endless stuff, or when you do buy things, buying second-hand things, you're already being more sustainable. By wasting less, you're being more sustainable. By cycling and walking more, you're being more sustainable. So there's lots of ways that frugality kind of overlaps and tends to mean that you live a slightly more green lifestyle, which I think is really good. But I think we could all do better, couldn't we? And I'm going to try to do a bit better this year. So I think embracing a frugal lifestyle enables you to live a bit more sustainably, which is a good thing. And if you want a bit more inspiration about extreme frugality and how to live a more frugal lifestyle, you probably will know that I've written a book, Extreme Frugality, Save Money Like Your Grandma. I've got loads of little post-its in here, done a couple more interviews with the BBC on the local radio, so I just try and pull out some certain bits I want to talk about. But hopefully you'd find it useful. It's kind of inspired by generations gone by, so if you think about the kind of products that your grandma, your great-grandma, perhaps depending on your age, wouldn't have thought to buy. They didn't need them, things that we thought we needed and we will regularly buy. Your great-grandma probably didn't even know they existed. They probably didn't exist. That's the thing. You know, things like plug-in air fresheners, that's the one that springs to mind. But, you know, it didn't exist. It wasn't necessary. If we've gone all those years without those things, why do we need them? And they cost us extra money. So the idea is that, you know, you start thinking like recent ancestors, generations gone by, who lived through the Second World War, lived through rationing, and had no choice but to be frugal. And I think we could learn a few lessons from them. Anyway, I do feel like I've waffled a lot. I'm in that kind of waffly mode today, so I hope this all makes sense. But the key message is that if you embrace a frugal lifestyle, and if you go for extreme frugality, you can save a lot of money, and it actually gives you more options. It can help you achieve your dreams like it did with Frugal Jo. So do hop over and have a look at her video if you haven't watched it already. And if you enjoyed this waffle, please do give me the thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.